Hey, so this is kind of impromptu, so just bear with me, but I think this is the best way for me to describe what health and fitness is. At least what it is to me and how my health and fitness journey has progressed. Health and fitness gets way overcomplicated, and I've definitely been there where it gets frustrating and I want it so bad and I feel like I'm doing everything right and there's still no results. Honestly, the motivation alone just wasn't enough for me. And that's something I think that I see in a lot of people. A lot of people really, really want it, but your motivation can only carry you so far. That said, I would like to walk you through a little journey of mine, not because there's a magic tip or trick, but because I want you to have some real insight that I know how it feels to be where you are, and that it's not some magic answer that fixes it for you. Unfortunately, let's start with the fitness industry. And right now, it's really messy. There are really two extremes right now. One side says you're perfect as you are, don't change a thing. And the other says if you're not in the gym 5 days a week eating chicken and broccoli out of a Tupperware, then you're failing. Neither one of them makes room for people who are just starting, restarting, or not really wanting to do this perfectly. And I'm still in this space where I don't want to do it perfectly. I fell into that trap really hard, and I wanted to be all in all the time, and that just didn't work. So this a little bit vulnerable here. I'm going to show you some pictures of how this played out in my own life. So picture one, this is right out of high school. So sports are keeping me consistent, but I didn't know how to feel myself properly. Obviously, I was really skinny. I didn't mean to, but I was under eating and a little bit running on fumes. Also, let's let that haircut rest in peace and never ever come back again. Picture two was sophomore or junior year of undergrad. You can tell I gained weight, but it wasn't really muscle. And for reference, I'm the same weight now that I was in this picture. So think about how weight isn't necessarily an indicator of where you're at in your fitness journey. So I had no idea what I was doing back then. I was lifting really hard, but I was frustrated and I wanted it really bad and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working out. So picture three, this was my overcompensation phase. Burnout city. I was lean, like bodybuilders show day lean, like 6 to 8% body fat lean, but even for bodybuilders, that is not sustainable. So it wasn't really healthy for me, and honestly, it came from a place of me not liking how I looked. Picture four, this one is now. I took this one a few months ago, and I'm really proud of this one. And it's not because I'm done growing, I still have goals, but because I actually like who I am in this one, and I feel good, I feel strong, and I'm not chasing a version of me that I hate. I'm not running away from something that I don't like. I'm building a version of myself that I love. And that's not because I look better in this picture. We'll talk about that in a second. What changed for me? And honestly, it was two things, and they weren't even workouts or diet. So tip number one, and this sounds silly, but it's change your mindset. You might already have this mastered, but this took me years to master. At some point, I finally stopped chasing fitness out of disgust with how I looked and started chasing it because I believed that I deserved to feel good. I had to learn to be able to look in the mirror and say, I love where I am right now. I know I can be more, so I'm going to become more. And that's how I moved from picture two to three to four. So that's tip one, is it's really a mindset thing. And you have to motivate yourself for the right reasons, because motivation for purely aesthetics is never going to carry you all the way through. When my motivation changed to I want to be healthy, I want to have longevity, I want to be able to pick up my grandkids when I'm 80 and go hiking when I'm 90, that's when my fitness journey really turned around. So tip number two, start small, like really small. Have you ever heard the saying, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. And that's how I built my fitness journey. Tip number one, the first thing I started with, I started making my bed every morning. That was it. That was the beginning of my fitness transformation. A tiny win. On good days it was a win, and on bad days it was a win. Then, a few weeks later, I started cleaning my dishes while I cooked. Instead of sitting down afterwards and letting my dishes pile up, I made sure that I was being consistent. Then I went to the gym. Not hard, but just consistently. 7 a.m. every day. Some days were rough, but I still showed up. The key wasn't the intensity, it was the rhythm. It was the cadence for caring for myself. And then I continued to add things after that. A few months later, I started getting my diet in check. A few months later, I started working on my supplements. But I didn't do it all at once. I did it in tiny bite-sized portions. I waited until habit number 1 became second nature, and then I added habit number 2. If you try and do them all at once, it's overwhelming, and it can burn you out so quick. So if you're in the middle of this right now, and if you're trying so hard and it still feels like it's not working, I just want to say I've been exactly where you are. And I'd also be honored to be your cheerleader. I want you to text me when it's hard, tell me when you didn't hit your goals, and I'll remind you that showing up still counts. The goal shouldn't be to be perfect. The goal is to build a life that you actually want to live in. And that's what changed for me. And a life where your health supports your joy and not replaces it. Because even for me, fitness used to be a tax on my mental health because I would get discouraged. And now it's the biggest support of my mental health. And these aren't perfect, and I know they're not a simple fix, but I just wanted to be vulnerable and kind of shed some light on part of fitness that most people don't talk about. It's a lot easier to tell people that, oh yeah, I changed all these things all at once, and I'm perfect, and I'm this, and I'm that. But I'm not perfect, and it took me a long time to get where I am. And I've got my goals written on a whiteboard next to me right now. And yeah, I've got a long way to go. But the difference is I look at myself now and I say, I recognize the work that you've put in, I'm proud of me, and I like myself for it. And not, oh my gosh, I'm not at my goals yet. So yeah, sorry this got so long, but I hope if there's anything you take away, it's this. It's start small, start from love, and remember that you don't have to do it all alone.